beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. My name is Krystal and I'm the Gypsy. If you're new to this channel, I take you all over the world with me, or all over the United States, wherever the wind blows me and wherever the smoke takes me. If you're new here, this is a 420 safe space, so joints up, blunts out, whatever your mode of smoke is, let's have a good time. We are at King's Dominion for their Halloween haunt event, and we have very limited time to get through all 6 houses, right?
Yes.
And 5 scare zones. Let's have a good time. Hello beautiful people. I wanted to jump in here real quick and give you a little bit more in-depth detail about the event. So get your smoke out and let's talk about it. So let me start off by saying that this event was actually a really good event. Despite the storm that had passed through, Tropical Storm Ophelia was passing through, so that's how dedicated I am to this channel. I drove through a tropical storm, which I'm from Florida, so it was just really kind of hard rain. It was not like a full-blown hurricane or anything, which I've driven in a hurricane as well. But just so you know my level of dedication, I drove through a storm to get there so that way I could film this event for opening night. Now, when we arrived, everything was lit up and they had the eerie like Halloween music playing. So it was just really setting the mood. And it was a little chilly, and in Virginia, this time of year, fall weather starts to kind of we're transitioning now into fall very quickly. So it was nice and cool. It was rainy. You had some spooky like Halloween music going, and the park was just lit up. They had fog machines going, so it really set the mood. I really enjoyed all of the theming and all of the houses and all of the scare zones in the whole park. So a really good event. I definitely would recommend going to this event if you ever have the chance to in the future. So the very first maze that we came to was Cornstalkers, and this house starts immediately as you get into the line. So as you walk up and you're getting into the queue, there's like a facade of like a porch of an old southern house, and there's a zombie farm girl, and she's got her like little guitar and stuff, and she's just basically heckling the crowd. And like anytime somebody comes around that corner, you can't really like see her until you are in front of the facade, and she just kind of like jumps out at you and she starts heckling you. It was very fun. It created a lot of really funny scares, and then the crowd would like get into it as well.
I didn't say that. You didn't hear nothing. I didn't say nothing. I lied. We're friendly, I promise.
And then as you walk up to the actual entrance to the house, you see like the cornfield kind of facade, and then the like butcher type, I guess, pumpkin patch area or whatever it was. And it just started immediately as you got into the line. So I really liked that aspect of it, because a lot of like haunted mazes, like events, you just kind of wait in line and then you go through the house. So that was kind of a different element that I'd never experienced before, and I really liked that element. And you believe that you're walking around like an actual corn maze and like you're getting lost in it. You had a choice to make. And you know, I was in front. So of course I'm like looking around one corner to see, oh, can I go this way or can I go that way? And sometimes you could make a choice to go which way, and then other times there was a scare actor waiting for you. So I really did like this maze. The only thing that I would say I did not like about it is that at some points it kind of felt like the walls were closing in on you. And for those who are slightly claustrophobic, that can be kind of a problem. So like I said, they just kind of got a little bit more narrow. And then also for taller people, now I'm not a tall person per se. I'm about 5'5", so for me at points I had to like duck down because there was like corn stalk like hairs that would just like smack me in my forehead, and I don't like that feeling. And so for taller people, I can imagine that having to duck down at least like 1.5 feet is going to be really irritating. My boyfriend, he is like 6'1", 6'2". So I'm sure that was one of the things that he said was he felt very claustrophobic and he had to duck down quite a bit because he was getting like hit in the face with like the tops of the corn stalks and stuff like that. So those are the only like two things that I would say that I did not like about this house. Otherwise, great scares, great theming, like the whole thing was just really, really immersive. So I definitely would give this house a thumbs up, and I would give it, I would say, an 8 out of 10. So the second house that we went through was Condemned, and this was basically supposed to be a condemned hotel. I thought that the theming of this hotel or maze was very beautiful and very beautifully put together. I especially loved at the entrance where the doorman kind of greeted you. I don't know if that's like an every time thing, if he's always there to like kind of start the scene and stuff like that. But again, that's another element that I don't think I've ever seen at a Halloween event like this. So I thought that was a really nice touch. Hello, are you the doorman?
Indeed I am. Welcome to the Inn at Darkside Manor. If you are here to check in, Daniel at the front desk will happily take your reservation. And if you are here for the wedding, I'm to tell you it's to die for.
Oh, okay. To die for, honey. You hear that? It's a wedding to die for. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have fun.
All right, so we finished the second house of the night, the Condemned. And it's raining naturally on opening night. It wouldn't be a Halloween opening night if it didn't rain, because apparently it rains every night on opening night for HHN. So here we are at King's Dominion and it's raining. So we just got done with the second house, the Condemned, and that one was creepy. Very creepy. This was a creepy yet fun maze for me, because it had all of the creepy feels of like ghosts and, you know, just being in just like a haunted place that's real. And then I also thought that it gave me Stranglewood Manor at Busch Gardens, Tampa meets The Shining kind of vibe in this maze, because at one point you were walking down a hallway and the lights would blink on and off, and it was supposed to be like the facade of like a hotel corridor. And at one point I almost was like, I was anticipating there to be a set of twins at the end of the hallway when the lights came back on, just to be like, boo. So like I said, it kind of gave me those vibes. And if you've been through the Stranglewood Manor maze at Busch Gardens, Tampa, then you know exactly what I'm talking about as far as like the creepy kind of house feel. And then, like I said, with that one element of walking down that hallway, I kind of got Shining vibes, but also because it was set in a hotel, I got Shining vibes. So if you're a Shining fan and you're a horror fan, this house was definitely for you. But this house, Condemned, just from the start to finish, a really good experience for me. I loved it. There were points where I actually did get scared, and the jump scares got me quite a bit. I was also in the front of this one as well, so I was the first one to receive all the scares. So I give this one a 9 out of 10. I think the only reason that I would not give it a full 10, actually, you know what? I don't think there was anything about this house that I didn't like. So I'm going to give this house a 10 out of 10. Yeah, this house was this was a really good maze. So I give it a 10 out of 10. Scratch that 9 out of 10. I don't know what I was talking about. So we're now about to go walk through Pumpkin Eater, which I guess is a scare zone, and then on to the third house. So we'll see how this goes, because it's not raining, it's drizzling, but it's still enough to be annoying, and it's a low of 62. So yeah. So as we came out of Condemned, we made it to our first scare zone, which was Pumpkin Eater. Now, Pumpkin Eater, the scare actors were very interactive. Pumpkin Eater.
Watch out, he's walking here.
Oh. Oh, that's a cool feature. Pumpkin Eater, Armstrong Acres. Woo!
Oh my God! He's staring at me. I don't like it.
Again, great theming through this scare zone. you're walking through like a haunted pumpkin patch. And at the end of it, I kind of got Halloween Town vibes just because of the like horse-drawn carriage that was shaped like a pumpkin, and that big pumpkin just kind of gave me Halloween Town vibes. And as you're walking through, there's fog coming out, and the way that they have the lights, they have like jack-o'-lanterns as actual lanterns. And it just was it gave you such an eerie vibe, not only because of just the theming and the lighting and how it was all put together, but there was also a lack of people because of the storm that had was, coming through, or that was, passing through. So there was on and off rain, and it deterred people from coming out. So it just created even more of like an eerie vibe and more scares to happen because, well, these scare actors, they don't have many people to scare, and they're not trying to they're trying to get to everybody, and they do. They created a lot of good scares because at one point when I was walking through and as I was filming, one of the scare actors came up to me and started talking to me and distracted me, which created then for other scare actors to come up behind me and scare me. So I was like, okay, all right, I see how you guys are working now. I see you.
You have it.
Yay!
I don't like this game.
Yay! You like water?
You look nervous.
That was a fun scare zone. Oh, that's cool. Okay, so for the third house of the night, we went to Grimwoods. Now, Grimwoods was my favorite house, just on pure creativity and use of the space. So I'm pretty sure that the queue for the roller coaster Grizzly is what they used to do this maze, because it was completely outside. And it was based off of the Grimm fairy tales. So as you walk in, they have these big statues and this big open book, and it's once upon a time, and then it says something about the Grimm fairy tales. As you walk through, there's another statue, and it tells you what fairy tale you're going to be walking through. So the first one is Little Red Riding Hood. And this was also the first house that I had walked through, or first maze. I keep calling them houses because I'm just used to calling them haunted houses. So I do apologize for that. Well, the reason why this is my favorite maze of the night, not only because I love fairy tales and I love the Grimm fairy tales, but first maze at any event, Ronnie got scared. Somebody got him. So this immediately became my favorite house of the night and of any event that we've ever gone to. Because he never gets scared. When people jump out at him, he's not ugh, But this one, some people got him. And then when I called him out, I'm like, did you just get scared? He was like, no, I was trying to protect you. And I was like, that's sweet, but you got. That's what happened. They had a lot of different fairy tales kind of sprinkled throughout, but I just thought the detailing and the theming of this was just really good. That was, like I said, one of my favorite houses of the night. And that house gets a 10 out of 10 for me. So the second scare zone that we made it through that night was Masquerade. And this was my least favorite scare zone because I felt like it had so much potential and it just didn't do it for me. I loved the theming of it. We're walking through it and it just kind of gave you Bridgerton, Marie Antoinette vibes. Just with zombies, I guess. I felt that it kind of fell short as far as the scare zone itself, simply because the scare actors, I felt some of them were trying to do their job, but they were paired with people that really didn't care as much, because some of the younger scare actors got easily distracted by some younger girls, and it kind of took away from the experience for me. Like, there was like a gaggle of girls just sitting there talking to this one zombie guy, and I was like, this, don't break character and just start talking to the people, because it's a scare zone. And I just think, like, people stopping and talking, and then as they left, that same scare actor kind of ran past and kind of jumped out and was like, oh, you left? Come back. Like, don't leave. I want to continue talking to you, even though I'm working. So I just kind of felt like it took away from the experience a little bit. There were, like, at the beginning, there were a few scares that they didn't necessarily get me, but there were, like, a few scares that I thought were pretty interesting. And then just some of the characters at the beginning when I walked through the scare zone were really, truly in character. And I was like, oh, this is going to be really good. But then as I got to the other side of it, and it's not a very big scare zone either, so if that tells you anything, it just kind of started to fall apart a little bit. Scare zone. Oh boy.
I don't mind
Very expensive.
Yes, you're honest. Oh, she's flexible. That's actually crazy.
She say use a
Hey, you wanna dance? I don't know how to dance. Oh, it's in the box. How are you in the box? You were just in the box.
That's the one scare zone that I did not like, but it had such good potential because it was really pretty, actually, and I loved the theming of that as well. But yeah, it kind of fell short in the spooky, scary category for me, and I just kind of felt like I was walking through a like 1800 year themed high school dance, you know? So yeah, Kings Dominion, I would kind of work on that and tell your scare actors, you're not here to socialize. This is, you know, your job. The only thing that I would change, or that I can say about that scare zone. So now we're headed over to the 4th house out of 6. So we're almost done. And then we've got like 3 more scare zones or something like that. So we'll see how this goes. Yeah, so Blood on the Bayou is the 4th house, and that's where we're headed now. This is also the only maze Halloween event that I have ever been to where they take your picture before you truly get into the line for the maze. They kind of keep with the whole theme of it is, we'll need it to identify you later. Like, that's what she says as you're like walking out like all creepily and stuff. So I just thought it added to it. And the photo was not that expensive either. I think it was, you get, because they took your picture twice. They took a picture, one of you smiling, and then the next one of do your scared face. So you can either get one photo for like $10 or both of them for $15, or you can also opt in for the digital photos. So I thought that was a really nice like add-on to a house, to a maze, and to an event that I've never experienced. Like I said, this event was surprisingly very, very good. They don't do that at Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando. They don't really do that at Busch Gardens or SeaWorld. So I thought like Kings Dominion kind of brought in a few different elements that just kind of enhanced your experience a little bit and helped you create more memories. Yeah, so when you go inside the maze, they give you this. They take a picture and they give you this with the QR code. And then when you get out, you come here and they show it to you and they print it out.
Can I just scan it over here on the left?
And Ronnie and I did go, we did get one of the pictures at the end. So I'll post that here now. Like I said, the theming of this house was very, very gorgeous. Like as you walked in, it was gorgeous. I loved it, every minute of it. It also gave me Death on the Bayou, or Deathwater Bayou, at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, it kind of gave me vibes like that. Although this one was more so set in like a French Quarter house versus Deathwater on the Bayou is kind of set in the swamp of, well, the bayou. At one point though, you did kind of, it did transition where you did kind of walk through like a swamp bayou home. So that was, like I said, it was a very gorgeous themed maze. I really wish Busch Gardens would have let us record in the houses, because you would see how beautiful and how like put together these mazes really were. And I told them this too. I told every house that I came out of, I was like, you guys should really let people record in here so they can see what a production that this is. It's gorgeous, you know? So fingers crossed one day King's Dominion will let us record in the houses, so that way you can see how much they have to offer and how great this event, and this is my first time at this event, so I was blown away. I mean, and like I said, I love the houses, like the mazes and stuff in the Halloween events that don't have like a big IP type of thing where you kind of know what to expect going in. Like, I love Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios. Do not mistake me at all. I love HHN, okay? But I love Halloween as a whole. And with HHN, you can go into a house kind of expecting, oh, this is the Chucky house. So you expect to see Chucky. You go into the Stranger Things house. You expect to see Vecna. You know, so that you kind of go in with a little bit of an idea of what you're about to see. Whereas some with these other, you know, smaller IPs and these smaller parks, they have a little bit more creative creative reign there. They can pull out all the stops. So this is how eerie this place looks. There's like nobody here. There's just fog everywhere and creepy ass carnival music coming from the carousel. I mean, this is like something of like carnival nightmares. Like seeing a Ferris wheel at night with nobody on it and the lights on is kind of creepy. Like, this would be a perfect area for a scare zone. Like, this is just such unused space. Okay, so the fifth house of the night, which was Trick or Treat. This was a witch's den of creepy. There were dolls everywhere. Miniature dolls, medium-sized dolls, you know, regular baby dolls, porcelain dolls, and human-sized dolls. This house kind of reminded me of American Horror Story meets Annabelle. Yeah. So very creepy vibes in this house. Now I could see the potential for some really good scares. However, let me fix that. However, there was a family in front of us, and they, upon entering the house, I guess the mom had said the son's name, so then it created this cascade effect where then the scare actors were like, oh, he's coming through. And I'm not sure why or what prompted the mom to then continuously just yell his name. She would be like, where are you? And I was like, so it kind of, at first it added to the experience because I'm like, oh, they're about to get this kid good. But then when the mom kind of like took it to that level, I was like, now this is just annoying. Because like when the scare actors would like come through and they like say their lines and stuff, you could barely hear them because the mom was like, where are you? And she just kept like yelling his name. So that's the only thing that I can say that I didn't like about the maze, but I thought the theming was great. I thought that the scenes that they kind of created were beautifully put together. Like I said, you kind of felt like you were walking through like an old house full of witches, and in some of those rooms you had like dolls everywhere. And growing up, my grandmother had a lot of like porcelain dolls, and if you've ever seen a porcelain doll, well, if you don't like dolls, you know how creepy they look. And my grandmother had tons of porcelain dolls everywhere. So super creepy. And if, like I said, you've ever seen porcelain dolls, you know they're creepy. Like, oh my god. The third scare zone of the night that we had gone through was the Cleaver Brothers Carnival. Now, if you don't like clowns, you're not gonna like this scare zone. But if they don't bother you and you kind of like the circus theming, you're probably gonna like this scare zone, sorry. Some of the scare actors were really into their character. Like, they gave you this kind of like demented, sinister clown vibe where they weren't really talking a whole lot of sense. So I thought that was a really nice touch on their part. There were also some really good scare actor interactions, like the gypsy that had stopped me and was like, "Let me read your fortune."
She's famous.
Welcome! The carnival is supposed to you. Oh, what is that magic device? Some kind of... Ooh, gross! Yes!
Oh my god, this looks like it.
What? What? Oh, no, it doesn't respond. It does not.
I really like this scare zone. Oh, she's bendy.
What do you think I do? What do you think? Do you know what your future holds?
No, but hopefully maybe one day I'll know. In the future.
Maybe you'll come back and I will read your fortune once my tent is fixed.
Oh, when your tent is fixed, I'll come back and you can read my fortune. Who broke it?
I don't know, but we have to find him and make him pay for it.
It's probably one of these silly clowns.
Oh, that's probably it. They chew through the wires.
Yep, they chew through the wires.
They have so many cats here.
Oh.
They love to go with the carnival.
Oh, yeah, that's probably why then.
Oh, yes. They're very mischievous.
Very mischievous.
Yes. You have a lovely evening.
You too. I'll come back and get my fortune read.
I'll wait.
Woo! Jesus!
I'm walking a straight line!
Oh, hi there, friend. It's all funny till it's not, and then you're crying, and it's funny as heck to me.
So the next scare zone that we made it to, which I think was the last one, this was scare zone 5, was Site X. So I just felt like the placement of this scare zone was a little weird. So you had to walk through Jungle Expedition to get to it. And the area that it was in, it was kind of like an island. Like, you didn't have to walk through it at all to get to anything. If you wanted to go through that scare zone, you actually physically had to make the choice to walk through it. It wasn't like the park forced you to walk through it, because if you wanted to ride one of the rides that was back in Jungle Expedition, you could just walk up to it. If you wanted to get food, you could just walk up to it. So it's not like they forced you to like go through this zone. And to be honest with you, it was kind of like away from everything else. So I just thought that it was kind of a little out of place. And like I said, it was kind of like an island in Jungle Expedition where you could walk around and not even enter it. And I thought it was really, really small. And you could tell, like, when you walked up that the scare actors were kind of bored because nobody was walking through this scare zone because you weren't forced to. However, I could see the potential of it.
Oh, yeah, what the... Oh my. Ooh.
You're never safe in these woods.
Ooh, she said we're never safe. So this one was just my second least favorite simply because of the placement of it. But once the scare actors like saw that like I was walking through it, they immediately started their job. Immediately. And there were a few times where they got me because they make like such creepy noises and it's dark and the lighting is great, the theming is great. I think they put it there simply because a lot of their like coasters were back there and like their new one was back there as well. So they thought, okay, maybe we'll put one here. But again, you weren't forced to walk through it unless you chose to. You came in on one side and you did like a loop, kind of, not even like a whole loop. You just kind of turn the corner a bit and there's the end of it. And the exit and the entrance, like if you look at it from the outside, they're literally like 20 feet apart. And it's like, it just didn't make a lot of sense. It didn't make a lot of sense. So I think had it been maybe somewhere else, maybe at the opening of Jungle Expedition, like you have to walk through it to get into Jungle Expedition, like right there at the sign and stuff. Like if they had it set up right there, I think it would have been way better because you'd have to walk through it to get to everything else. Just an idea, just a thought that I had because, like I said, when we walked up there, the scare actors looked bored because nobody was walking through it. They're like, oh, we don't have to walk through we don't have to get scared and have people jump out at us and we could just go to the ride. We could just go get food. Great. But yeah, that's my only thing about that one. All right, so we're going into where the final house is in Planet Snoopy. And it sounds like a club up in here. Like, I feel like I need to go dancing now. So this house gave me cultish vibes. Immediately when you walk in, I guess this house beforehand used to be a ride that had like an elevator element. And they still kind of kept with that. However, they didn't do like an elevator type thing with it. You were basically ushered into a room that could fit probably no more than 6 to 8 people. And it's dark in there. And then all of a sudden a TV screen comes up. And there's this creature in like a weird mask that has a face but doesn't have a face. It's hard to explain. And he's talking about how like this is the end and just like these we're gonna, and it kind of went on repeat for a minute where it was like you're gonna have to face your fears and you're not gonna make it out. You know, this whole thing setting up like, okay, you're about to have to face your fears. We get it. So I kind of did like that element though, because there was one in SeaWorld that we went through. And if you haven't seen my SeaWorld video, I'll link that down in the description below so you can see what that house was kind of like. I thought that this house had really great scare elements, especially if you're afraid of certain things. Like a lot of people are afraid of snakes. A lot of people are scared of spiders. Like a fun house mirror maze. So they had one of those in there. That was an element that I was not ready for. So it was interesting because we kind of got turned around a bit because there were like arrows at the bottom. So I was like, oh, maybe it's kind of pointing us to go this way. No. No. So I liked that element of it. Because those funhouse mirror mazes are always kind of fun. The reason why it gave me cultish vibes is because then at one point you walk through another part where there's just like hooded figures. And you don't know which ones are gonna move. And you're like, oh, I don't like this. And so you're like walking through. Luckily, we were not in the front. We were kind of in the middle, and the people that were in front of us, it was funny to watch them get scared. I would give this house 7 out of 10 as well, because I kind of feel like this house was just kind of thrown together, you know, and just kind of like it was a Mod Podge of different things. So I don't know, I just didn't feel like there was necessarily like a flow or like a story that I was kind of following, I guess. I don't know. It just, nothing kind of connected in the house, I guess. It was also very short. It wasn't a very long walkthrough at all. I felt like we got through that house literally within like a minute. it didn't last very long. Whereas Grim Woods, even some of the scare zones I felt were a little bit longer. Whereas this one, I felt like you walked through maybe like 4 or 5 rooms and then you were done. So, I don't know. And then, like I said, when you were walking through some of them, there was no theming. There was just nothing. And I was like, I don't get it. So maybe, I just didn't get that house. All right, Uprising. It's the last scare zone of the night. I loved this scare zone. From start to finish, all of the scare actors were in it. They were not trying to socialize. They were not trying to just sit there and do nothing. They were all in it. And it was the most active scare zone for me and the most creepy to me and the most that gave me like the creepy, spooky, like Halloween vibes. Like it got me there. There was one scare actor in particular where she was giving me whisperer vibes from The Walking Dead. And I was like, girl. In this scare zone, there were a lot of great jump scares and they got me a lot. I had a lot of fun in this scare zone and I just think it was the most active. It was the most immersive to me. And the scare actors, they used every bit of that set. And you never knew what to expect as you were walking through because they utilized that scare zone. It's kind of like set up like a cemetery, but it wasn't like everything was in rows, you know, like it wasn't like rows of headstones or anything, but they were kind of scattered about. They may or may not be behind something. And so as you're walking through, you hear things, but you don't, and they've got fog machines going. So you hear it and then you see it, but by the time you see it, they've already seen you and they've clocked you and they're like, I'm coming for you. Oh, Jesus. We're following the fog. Oh. Oh, there's more. Okay, this might be my favorite scare zone here.
Help me!
Jones. Angela, where you at? This looks very spooky. Very spooky. Especially with the noises coming from that way. Let me know which houses you guys are most excited for this King's Dominion Halloween Haunt event, and let me know which houses you may have already done. Have you gone to previous events and done some of these houses already? Because I know that they bring some back and then they might bring in some new ones. So let me know down below if there are any houses that you are excited for, or that you're like, oh, I did that last year, you know, type of thing. Are there any other events that you have been to this season or that you plan to go to this season? Let me know down below. Also, I will leave a link in the description box to my SeaWorld and my Howl-O-Scream and my Universal Studios videos, so you can check those out down below. All right, guys, we have made it to the end of the night. We did all 6 houses / mazes, and we did all 5 scare zones. I was actually really impressed with this whole event. Unfortunately, they didn't let us record in the houses, which I thought was kind of silly, because had we been able to record in the houses, you would have seen how amazing this event actually is. It's very underrated. It was raining tonight, so there wasn't a lot of people that came, which I'm not mad at, because we walked through every single house without really any kind of wait. So I definitely recommend coming to this event. I give it an 8 out of 10 though, simply because 1, they wouldn't let me record in the houses, and 2, their souvenir like shirts are not size friendly. The highest they go up to in t-shirts is a 2X, and the highest they go up in the hoodies was a 3X. So I was a little disappointed about that, because I kind of like my shirts a little oversized, just in case they shrink. So I was kind of a little disappointed about that. But otherwise, I had a really good night. I thought it was a really good event, and I definitely would recommend coming here. And we have season passes, so we'll most likely try to make it to another night and, you know, have some fun. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Joints up, blunts out, whatever your mode of smoke is. Have a good night, guys. Bye.